Hey there, welcome back. Well, today I wanted to talk about how to plant in an existing, I thought my hands were dirty, it was just a shadow. How to plant into an existing landscape. So a lot of people are really wanting to get a garden started more than ever this year. And I always think that's a good idea. I never think that's a bad idea. But that's just me. But I wanted to talk about how to use your existing landscape to do that. So let's pretend for a minute this is not an edible landscape. Let's just pretend that's a crepe myrtle, and you've got some shrubs and hedges, that could be considered a shrub. But you usually always have some sort of open spot in your existing landscape. And I would say just poke some peppers in there, like a pepper plant or two, or a squash plant looks like a ground cover. It is a ground cover. Poke some sage, a sage plant in there, and have some aromatic herbs. Poke some cilantro in there. Poke some garlic. This is what garlic looks like whenever it's growing in the landscape. You could have just, one or two here and there. Let's just say, okay, so this is oregano. This is what oregano looks like. For the most part, during the colder months, it falls way down low to the ground and it just looks like a ground cover. And then it kind of puffs up and makes some pretty flowers. Here's some flowers. Those are Shasta daisies. They'll come up and make beautiful flowers. But here's a bare spot. You could plant strawberries in there. Here's some gladiolas. Those are flowers, but there's snapdragons. But you could also poke in a squash plant right there. Hi, kitty. If you have a trellis like this, you could grow some cucumbers up that, or beans. Right here along the edges is where I have planted some potatoes, and they make a beautiful little flower. I'll try to remember to post a picture. I will post a picture here of what that looks like when it's growing. Now, I know a lot of people always want to grow tomatoes, and that is something that does take a very sturdy trellis, something that tomato cages just don't work, and I just don't like tomato cages in my edible landscape. So I am if you have a fence in your backyard, I would not do this in the front yard. All the other stuff we already talked about I would do in the front yard, but in the backyard, if you have a fence, you could grow tomatoes all along your fence. If you have a chain link fence, that would be super easy, just kind of weave it in and out. If you have any kind of a railing or an arbor, you could grow something that needs a trellis along something like that, just kind of on the top, and just let it go that way. Okay, so rosemary. Rosemary is something that people have been using for landscaping forever. And it's just hi kitty, she really wants attention today. So if you have rosemary, it's kind of drizzling, misting right now. It smells so good, I can smell it from here. But it's great for the pollinators, and you can just grow some rosemary without question in an existing landscape, especially in the front yard. But rosemary and all the herbs have so many good nutritional and medicinal qualities to them. So this is what onions will look like in the landscape. This one's about to put off a seed head, but it's about time to pull these, so they won't stay there long. Here's what a couple of onions looks like, just all by itself. Hi, kitty. Here's some dill. So this dill will get taller. There's tall varieties and there's shorter varieties. You want some attention today, huh? But you could do dill very easily in the landscape. And just, whenever it gets too big, you just cut it back and just use the dill. If you live in a more rural area and you have fencing like this, let's see if I can show this here, then you certainly could grow something like cucumbers or tomatoes on something like that. But a lot of people in an area that's a typical suburban lot doesn't have, let's see if you can see that, have a fence like this. But if you live in a rural area, then you certainly could do that. But you could just grow your tomatoes, cucumbers, beans, peas, what else? All kinds of stuff like that on a fence like this. So here is what parsley looks like, and this will get a little bit taller, but you know, I can just keep harvesting off of this, and it just won't get as big. Here's some potatoes growing. I pop those in on the side or on the outer border because it keeps a lot of rabbits and deer and four-legged critters away from my main crops, because there's a built-in pesticide, I think it's called solanine, and they just can't eat it. It's poisonous. There's a lot of things that they say are deer resistant and rabbit resistant. It depends on if something is hungry enough, it will eat something that is not usually tasteful to them. But in this case, it's actually toxic. So it's very, very rabbit and deer resistant. The tops are. So yeah, if you just take an existing landscape that already has mulch, there's already soil down there, then you should be able to plant right into that. I planted some onions here yesterday, and I've got all this space where I can plant into it. And yeah, one more thing that I wanted to say too, this area right here is very shady. It's a lot more shady than I thought it was going to be. And I planted these daylilies here, and I need to move those because it's so shady. But another option that I have is just taking out, let's see, just taking out a few of these branches. Maybe just take out, so you can see that one goes from there to there. I don't want to step on anything here. To maybe just taking out this one branch right here, and that would take out a lot and open up this area right here. And then I could go over to this tree, making sure I'm not stepping on anything, and just take out, you know, one of these branches, maybe that branch right there. And that would open up this spot right here where I have a lot more sunlight to plant in, sun loving. But there's a lot of plants that would benefit from having an overstory, like leafy greens, lettuces, things like that, that just can't take the heat. So having a little bit of an overstory would actually be really good for them. It's misting right now. It feels really good. Yeah, that'll do it for this one. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that little bell if you want to be notified if we put up another video. And leave in the comments if you have any questions or what you're planning on planting this year, okay? And if you're thinking about using your existing landscape, I would love to hear about it. All right, talk to you later. Bye. Now I have to figure out where I'm going to put these blueberry plants. I'm just gonna read the tag, and I'm gonna go find a place, and I'm just gonna pop them in. Oops. Okay.